Cocaina! What's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to continue with my 2010s list week, the list week that I'm going to be doing at the end of the decade. And today I'm going to start off with a very humble list, a list that I don't think is that great, but is still important because album art is important. And so this is going to be my top 50 favorite album covers of the decade. So yeah, I don't want to waste my saliva too much today. So here are the honorable mentions. Just go see for yourself. They are album covers. So all you need to do is just look at them. With Joanna Newsom's Divers at first in the honorable mentions, and Sturgill Simpson's A Sailor's Guide to Earth at Last for the honorable mentions. And then it's the top 50 best album covers with the best colors, compositions, and themes. At number 50, we have Deftones with Gore. And yeah, we get a flock of birds in the cover here, arranged very beautifully, and just the minimalism that I really enjoy. And at 49, a hilarious album cover, and that would be Thundercat's Drunk with, I guess, a guy's head half immersed in the water, looking very suspicious. And then we have Flume with Hi, This is Flume at number 48, which is a really nice, sort of deranged, futuristic album cover. And then we have the Black Keys with Turn Blue, because if you look at this album hard enough, you'll start to feel dizzy. And not only that, the color palettes are great. And then we have Radiohead with A Moon-Shaped Pool at number 46. I love Radiohead, I love this album, and I love this album cover. Even my classmate, who doesn't talk to me anymore, thinks that this is a cool ass album cover. Shout out to Stanley Donwood. And then at 45, Flume reappears with Skin. Also, I haven't said this, but the whole entry per artist thing is not going to apply on this list because each album cover is actually designed by different people. Anyways, Skin. I think it's better than Hi, This is Flume in that it is more focused, it is more concentrated, but the colors and the imagery is still really fine and elegant. And then at 44, it is Blur with the Magic Whip, which dabbles into really nice neon sign art. Some Chinese words here, and Blur. And then at 43, also neon, but this time it's Neon Indian with Vega International Night School. That's the name of the album, right? But seriously, not only does it have a very nice, nostalgic neon lights, modern color palette, but it just tells you exactly what this album is going to sound like, with the synth pop and the disco. And then at 42, it is the very eye-catching Young Fathers with Cocoa Sugar. I'm going insane. Yeah, very eye-catching, very weird face right here, and it just catches your attention immediately. And then at 41, I am giving it to Battles with Glass Drop, because who doesn't want to try some of that pink stuff on that album cover? It's really appetizing. And then at number 40, I am giving it to Remo Drive with Greatest Hits. And yeah, it doesn't look like a really special album cover at first, but the more I think about it, the more I realize it's a pretty amazing album cover, because it just gets the lighting perfect. The lighting is perfect here, and the fact that it's pink just puts this album at number 40. And then at number 39, Flying Lotus. He has a lot of great album covers, and in 2019 we have Flamagra, which is messy, but in a way it actually sort of comes together to form such a cacophonous, strange purple and red combination that I really enjoy. And then at 38, I am giving it to Future Islands with Singles. In my latest fascination for floating objects, we have a floating headless woman in a sky. Reminds me a lot of Magritte. And at 47, Guerilla Toss with Twisted Crystal. And this album cover really shows anyone what this album might sound like, and that is eccentric, kooky, and weird, but at the same time, it's tight, packed, and very precise. And yeah, great color palettes as well. I'm loving the combination of dark green and dark blue. Anyways, at number 36, it is Hermit and the Recluse with Orpheus versus the Sirens, with its very bold, stretched words on the album cover. And inside the words, we see this Greek mythology image, which is really cool. Very cool for a rap album, by the way. Anyways, at 35, Ondatrópica, self-titled. Looking at this album cover, not only can we immediately tell that it is going to be a very Latin flavored album because of the very sharp color palettes, but also the style of the album cover, which reminds me a lot of Southern American, I guess, art. Anyways, at 34, minimalism at its cutest, and that is Ariel Pink with Palm. And yeah, just very minimal. What else can I say? It's pink, first of all, so it immediately catches your eye, but also just the words pom. That's it. And that's it. And then at 33, I am going to give it to Logic with Everybody. I know Logic is not a great rapper, but come on. This album cover is pretty epic, I have to say. It's kind of inspired by large, complex paintings in the Romance era, and it's pretty unique for a hip-hop album as well. And then at 32, I'm giving it to the Mountain Goats with Goths, where we just see a bunch of people sort of walking, and all of them feel down. And it just perfectly illustrates goth. But instead of being kind of showy and edgy, it's just a really humble projection of what goth really feels like. And to end off at number 31, we have 7 by Beach House. And I guess in a sense this album is pretty simple, with the number 7 in the center and this woman's face cracked open. But also in a sense it's pretty shimmery and bright and crystalline. And then at number 30, Clipping returns once again with There Existed an Addiction to Blood, with 49 pencils pointing at your face. Pretty clever and cleverly terrifying. And then at 29, we have Deafheaven with Sunbather, which is a pretty special album cover for a black metal album. It's pink as well. And also what's really special is that these letters, they aren't complete, but our brain tricked us to see the word sunbather when in fact it's actually not complete. So it's really smart. Anyways, at number 28, gotta give it to Kanye West with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And yeah, Kanye has a few really great album covers, and I think this one is his greatest in my opinion because it's artistic. Kanye West finally shifts to become artistic, and this is the first album that came out from Kanye West after his artistic enlightenment. And on this album cover, it's really extra because a majority of this cover is basically red, pastel red, not light pastel red, but slightly dark pastel red. And in the middle, it's a square, and originally it's some sexual imagery, but you can really just change that image with every other image possible and it'll still work. And at 27, I am giving it to FKA Twigs with LP1. Amazing colors. We get the light blue background, but then we have FKA Twigs' face here, which is also splattered in very greasy, oily colors, which is really beautiful. And at 26, it is The OCs with a Weird Exits. I really like how the image here is centered in the middle, and the purple and the smog is really unique. And at 25, it is Childish Gambino with Awaken, my love. I love the shade of blue here. I love how simplistic this album cover is. Really memorable face as well. And then at 24, the 1975 with I Like It When You Sleep, for how beautiful you are and how you're unaware of it, or something like that. The album title is really long and really creepy, and the album cover itself is very clean and polished. A slight tinge of pink, but mostly white, and very simplistic. Pretty stylish as well. And then at 23, it is Spiritualized with And Nothing Hurt, where we get a pretty, I guess, simple, well, color-wise, pretty simple imagery, and on top we get some Morse codes, which is really stylish, a really refreshing take on texts on album cover, and also there's a certain spaciness in this album cover that I really like. And then at 22, it is Street Sects with End Position. Probably inspired by comic art, really, but I'm not sure. But the reason why I think it's inspired by comic art is because there's just this really awesome sense of narrative and composition in this album cover that I really like. Amazing usage of lights. It's almost like I'm watching a noir movie, and we get this guy in the doorway, this weird ghost, this woman, this innocent woman sleeping in the bed. It's like something really disgusting and bloody is about to happen, but it hasn't happened yet, and it's just really awesome. And then at 21, we have Rosalia with Al Malquerer, and it's a pretty majestic and angelic album cover with Rosalia in the middle, surrounded by a ring of gold, and it just looks really grand. Anyways, here's the top 20. Let's go. At number 20, we have Kendrick Lamar with To Pimp a Butterfly, which is in black and white with a nice little frame, but a bunch of black people just having a great time in front of the White House. Just really symbolizes what this album is going to sound like, and it also sounds, it also looks amazing. And then at number 19, Flying Lotus reappears again with Cosmogramma, which is a really abstract and simple album cover. Again, I really like the composition of this album cover in that it is centered in the middle, but also this is a pretty interesting art concept that is all lines, black lines, and it looks like a cross-sectional view of the solar system, which is really cool, but I don't think it is what I think it is. And at 28, it is Wise Blood with Titanic Rising. Not only does it have very dreamy, beautiful colors with its blue and purple, also looks pretty stunning with a Wise Blood herself immersed underwater in I think a bedroom, and everything's just floating up because it's underwater. Just shows how watery and dreamy and nostalgic this album is going to sound. And in the 17th spot, I am giving it to Jamie XX with In Color. Just like the album title suggests, it is colorful. It is in color. But then we have this weird white rectangle that just gets in the way, which I think makes this album cover even more unique and eye-catching. And then at number 16, wow. At number 16, I am giving it to Tame Impala with Currents. Not only does it have nice colors, but also the linings and the shapes on this album cover really catches your eye. And for a psychedelic rock / pop album, it just really fits. And at number 15, it is Muse with Drones. A really interesting album cover concept in that this person's hands is controlling another person whose hands are controlling all other people who are just marching like robots. One simple image says a lot about how the politics and how society in general works, especially in the very dystopian view of Muse's music on this album. But also, other than that, it's a very clear album cover. Once you look at it, you immediately get what's going on. Really nice composition as well. And then at number 14, really awesome, brutal, disgusting nails with "You Will Never Be One of Us." And in this album cover, it's a mess in that we get these disfigured creatures just crawling towards the center of this album cover, and it's just ripping apart this thing, and it's really gross, really disgusting, but also in a very artistic way. It's bleeding with just absolute emotions, and it's filthy. It's filthy. Anyways, at number 13, we have Baroness with Purple. Baroness is no stranger to great album covers, and for each of their albums, they have a color theme. And for this album, is purple, and it actually works the best for the entire Baroness discography on this album cover. Of course, we get naked girls here, which shows how primal this album can sound, but then we get the spaciness and the brightness of the purple. At number 12, it is Brand New with Science Fiction, which is an emo album, an emo rock album, yes. And this album cover perfectly fits the lonely, isolated, and broken feel of that album itself. Not only does it fit the theme, but also when you look at this album cover, you feel like it's moving. It is moving because this guy is literally mid-air about to land on the roof of the car. And you can really feel the motion of this album. And even though it is in motion, it is still kind of lonely and downtrodden. I just really love that. I mean, Brand New has a few great album covers. Anyways, at number 11, we have Swans with The Glowing Man, a very minimalistic album cover. Minimalism in its most abstract, because in usual Swans minimalist style, we get a blank background with this faint skin yellow color, and then we get this symbol on the album cover, and it looks like the Chinese word for strength, but I don't think it really means strength. But it's just a really weird abstract symbol just in the center of the album cover, leaving the musical listeners to figure out what it means. Anyways, here is the top 10. 10 album covers of the entire decade that I absolutely love. They are artistic, stylistic, refreshing, unique, and creative. At number 10, we have Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds with Ghosteen. And I mean, I don't have to say all that much. Just look at the album cover. Just look at how beautiful it is. And the fact that there is text on this album cover, and it's Ghosteen. One word. It is widespread and it is bold. And I don't know, the imagery itself, it looks very heavenly. It looks very dreamy. It's like I'm in Eden, the garden, the most beautiful garden ever. Just a very beautiful, astonishing album cover. And then at number 9, of course, Swans returns with To Be Kind. And I think this is better than The Glowing Man, because instead of a weird abstract symbol, we just have a baby's face. And that is basically the artistic style of this album in general, with its, sleeves and other artwork related to this album. It's all baby faces, and that's it. But babies, they are young, they're innocent, they're new to this world, and they're primal. And it exactly shows that this album is going to be primal, very, very raw. But not only that, this album actually dabbles a lot into innocence, and I think it just really fits the tone. But more importantly, it just looks nice, and it just looks very artistic. I mean, it's a cutout baby face in the center of an album, and it just looks like a very interesting conceptual art project, and indeed it is. At number 8, it is Clarence Clarity with No Now. When I look at the album cover, I try to figure out what's on the album cover, but I can't figure out. I don't really know what it is, to be honest. But that is actually the exact reason why I'm placing this album cover this high. Not only are the colors great, but also just the really weird chopped up imagery just shows that this album is going to be a very eccentric, weird, shimmery, overproduced, overblown album, and it just looks really fascinating. Anyways, at number 7, I'm going to give it to The Strokes with Angles. Yeah, there are a lot of great things going on this album cover. The very weird conflicting color palettes, the optical illusion of the Penrose depths in the middle, the very disorienting patterns underneath on the ground. It's a very eye-catching album cover. And then at number 6, Ghost, Meliora. As far as metal albums goes, this album has the best album cover of the decade, period. This looks majestic. It looks menacing, and you see this really menacing figure in the center, and this figure and the skyline forms the face of a skull, which is really, really awesome, clever optical play right here, but also just the very dark and grim color palettes and the symmetry makes this album fantastic. And then at number 5, we have Arcade Fire with Reflector. Minimalist, crystalline, elegant, say what you say about the album. And we get this statue in the middle, and it's surrounded by a really perfect circle. And the circle, it looks like a really dense black hole, and outside it's some really nice silvery texture. I really love the texture of this album cover, and it feels like it's going to be a mixture between some futuristic styles and with some old school lyrical themes, which is really nice. Anyways, at number 4, my favorite album cover of 2018, and that is Muse with Simulation Theory. Muse is no stranger to great album covers, and I think Simulation Theory has to be, I don't think it's their best, but it's still one of the best of the decade anyway. Amazing colors. Of course, it's going to be 80s inspired, and amongst so many 80s inspired art this year, this is my favorite because it's going towards all directions, and it looks like it's action-packed. Really nice Futura style here as well. Anyways, at number 3, FK Twigs return once again with Melissa, which is not an album cover, more like an EP cover, but still, it's a cover nonetheless. You know what I mean? And with FK Twigs here, we have Melissa, which isn't as colorful as LP1. Of course, it is actually more simple and sort of stripped back, but that exactly matches with the musical style that FK Twigs is shooting for, because we see FK Twigs' face close-up shot in the album cover, and her hand is going through her head, and it looks really weird and trippy, and it's awesome. I don't know how did they make that, but it exactly shows that FK Twigs is making R&B music like many other R&B artists here, except her music is unique. It is weirder, more eccentric, more artistic, and just the subtlety and the nuance of this album cover that I absolutely love. And then at number 2, Everything Everything, Get to Heaven. I think it is the most colorful album cover of the decade. Of course, it's going to catch your attention immediately with the very sharp and bright red, orange, and yellow, and pink and purple. And then we get the blue shirt, which is really nice. Basically, this guy, this protagonist on this album cover is, I guess, panicking because there are a lot of hands trying to reach him, and there's a sense of motion, there's a sense of urgency in the album cover, yet with the colors it feels poppy and fun and lighthearted, and it's just one really iconic album cover. I feel like this album cover is going to be very iconic in years, and I'm just gonna say what's my number one. Father John Misty, pure comedy. So this album cover I think fits the tone of the decade the most, because this decade is very socio-politically charged and very self-conscious, and this album cover perfectly illustrates that. And for a majority of the album cover, it's black and white, and it's a lot of people doing different things in different places. It is incredibly dense and packed, but yet it is very beautifully drawn. There are a lot of beautiful minute details in each different spot on this album cover. And then on top we get this night sky, which is really grand and beautiful, overshadowing the whole thing with its dark blue and its really nicely arranged stars. And compositionally, this is great. Color, in terms of color, this is fantastic. And just the level of detail and artsiness that went into making this album cover really makes me appreciate this album cover. But what makes me appreciate this album cover even more is that it is so aware of what this album is for and what this album is about. It's for the people, it's for the society, and it's really beautifully illustrated right here. And it's my favorite of the decade. So, what are your favorite album covers of the decade? Comments below. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching. I have to go now.